you, my name is Emily, the Drone Angel, and welcome to your one-stop shop for everything drone related. Today I'm going to be showing you how to capture a vertical pano in manual mode while flying in the air. First we'll dive into some aspects of manual mode, then we'll apply it to a vertical pano. But before we get started, please take a moment and hit the subscribe button so you're notified when new videos go up. A vertical aerial panorama consists of multiple images that are stitched together to create one vertical image. Vertical framing is often determined when the subject matter is taller than it is wide. Or for me, I just like to see the full setting that will be used on social channels like Instagram. By creating a vertical pano, I'm able to showcase a setting in a unique way. It's also great for wall art when you want to sell multiple prints of the same setting with a similar theme to them. This will take some practice, but once you learn how to do it, you can show off the natural beauty of a setting from the ground to the sky. It's a unique perspective that you can't capture in one single shot. Whew, got it. Whew. Follow the timestamps below this video if you want to skip certain parts and jump right into the action of taking photos. The focal length of your camera will help determine how much post-processing work you have to do in Photoshop. Wide-angle lenses tend to capture more distorted images, making it more difficult to stitch them together in Photoshop. If you're flying a drone with a long focal length, make sure you zoom in before you start capturing photos of that vertical pano. Today I'll be showing you how to capture a vertical pano on a Mavic 2 Pro, but the same principles apply to most of the DJI series. Before we start flying, let's take a moment and assess the drone settings that you are currently using. RAW format gives you more control over your highlights and your shadows, and it allows you to easily change your white balance. By shooting a RAW, you can make better edits without affecting the overall quality of the image. For example, let's say you take a drone photo at sunset and the sky is a little bit overblown, overlit, the highlights are peaking. You have to work with that image and bring down those highlights in Lightroom and in Photoshop. Because the JPEG is compressed, it's hard to get that range of detail without affecting the overall quality of the image. RAW format puts your work miles ahead of other drone pilots, and I highly recommend that you start shooting all your content in this format. Here's a tip that I wish someone gave to me when I first started droning. If you're a new photographer or a new drone pilot, change your camera settings to RAW plus JPEG. That way, when you finally learn how to edit in RAW, you will have all this amazing content to play with. I can still remember when I first got my Phantom 4 Pro and I was flying off the big island of Hawaii. I was so excited just to be out there in beautiful nature, flying my drone like a BA. Yes, I'm not gonna say the bad word, badass. But I regret not changing those camera settings back then because now I look back at these images that are gorgeous, but they're compressed and I can't make large prints with them. So don't make the same mistake I made. Change those camera settings now. By shooting in RAW format, you can really play around with your white balance and exposure without affecting the quality. Dynamic range detail in JPEG files is significantly reduced compared to RAW. Basically, when you shoot a JPEG, the image is compressed and it is considered a lost file format. A lot of the image detail is discarded. For me, most of the time, I'm shooting a RAW plus JPEG format because oftentimes I'm out on the boat and there's people on the boat that want to see what I'm seeing and they want to share it with their friends. So when I'm taking images, I'll download the images with their JPEG format immediately on my phone and then share them with the people on the boat. Change your camera setting from auto mode to manual mode. You want to shoot in manual mode because you have complete control over settings like ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. Because let's be real, if you want to capture a panorama with high dynamic range, you have to have complete control over the exposure. Now, what does auto mode do? Auto mode evaluates the scene and tries to predict the exposure for you. Oftentimes, if it's dimly lit outside, maybe at sunrise or sunset, it will raise the ISO really high, causing the image to be grainy. You want the ISO to be as close to 100 as possible. With manual mode, you have complete control over the exposure by choosing the best combination of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture based on the lighting of the setting. When these three are combined, they provide a given exposure value for the setting. If one number is changed, the other two are impacted. Now there's an equation that you can use to find the absolute perfect exposure based on the setting you're shooting in. But I'll discuss this in a future video. Today I'll be sharing some of my favorite drone camera settings so that you can easily apply them while you're up in the air and shoot your first vertical pano. But first, let me explain what some of these settings mean. What does ISO do? ISO measures the sensitivity of the image sensor. With a high ISO, your sensor is more sensitive to light and there's an increase of digital noise. Since the goal is to generate a high-resolution panorama with as much dynamic range as possible, I highly suggest using a low ISO, such as 100. Auto ISO will mess up your exposures, often raising them and making it very difficult to edit in post. The cost of choosing higher ISO settings is that you start to begin to see higher grain. If you're the type of person that is asking, what is digital noise? Cool your jets, loser. I'm gonna explain it to you. I'm kidding, you're cool. Here's a good analogy. Turning up the volume on a poor radio reception and hearing the hiss of static, it's always moving and changing. Digital noise can be separated into two categories, color noise and luminance noise. Now, I'm not gonna break those down right now, but I can tell you this. The smaller the sensor, the more prone you are to noise. If it looks like I'm a day older, it's because I am. Let's get back into it. Some consumer drones give you control over the shutter speed and the ISO, but they have a fixed aperture. I'll be teaching you on this channel how to have control over these settings in the best way you can so that you can create beautiful images. In order to get the sharpest and the cleanest photos from your Mavic 2 Pro, you'll want to focus on 4 settings based on the given lighting conditions. These are aperture, shutter speed, ISO, and critical focus. The aperture controls the intensity of light passing through the lens during exposure. You can find it here on your DJI Go 4 app. Increasing the diameter of the aperture is referred to as opening up. When you're opening up the aperture, it's increasing the intensity of light, and it's actually causing the number to get smaller. So for example, if you go from like f4 to 2.8, you're actually letting more light into your lens. Decreasing the diameter of the aperture is known as stopping down or closing down. Closing the aperture decreases the intensity of light that's entering your lens. So let's say you go from like f4 to f7, you're actually letting less light enter your lens when you take that exposure. If you have full control over the aperture, you will have more control over the overall exposure and the contrast of the image. This is going to make it so much easier when you edit these photos in post. By stopping down the aperture and basically just having more control over how much light is hitting your lens, you can get very creative with your shots and start using filters. I'll discuss the importance of filters in a future video, but to sum it up, they allow you to get very creative with your shots, such as creating long exposures and other unique shots. I find filters the most useful when I'm shooting midday and there's direct sunlight hitting me and I want to have more control over my exposure. By using a filter, I'm allowing less light to hit my lens, allowing me to use a lower aperture. I would personally avoid using too high of an aperture. From my personal experience, the Mavic 2 Pro delivers the sharpest images between f2.8 and f5.6. Now, the shutter speed represents the amount of time the shutter is open per second. You will notice that as you increase the shutter speed or stop down, moving objects below you will appear still. As you decrease the shutter speed, moving objects begin to blur a little bit and less light is required to shoot them. A stop is a quantitative amount of light. When you double or half the shutter, we refer to this as one stop change in exposure. If you're a new photographer and drone pilot and you're a visual learner like me, try this test. Set your drone settings to auto and see what your drone uses for the shutter speed. Use that shutter speed number as the base number. Now switch your camera settings to manual and enter the base shutter speed number that was provided. If the setting appears too dark or too overexposed, change the shutter speed accordingly. If you're new to photography, I recommend just go fly your drone at your favorite spot, fly it up in the air, keep it still, facing the same setting, and then take multiple exposures, changing the shutter speed. That way you can take those photos into post and compare them to get a sense of what a setting looks like at different exposures. Now, what's the perfect shutter speed? There isn't a right answer. It really depends what you're trying to convey with your narrative. A slower shutter speed allows you to capture the movement and motion of the setting. I prefer not to have motion blur to my images because I'll print them in large format and I want them to be really crisp and clear when my clients see them. So oftentimes I'm shooting at least 1/200th of a second. If it's extra bright out, use a filter to cut down that light so you have more control over your exposure. Avoid shooting an overexposed image. I'll explain this in a future video more, but to sum it up, it's a lot easier to pull out detail in the shadows than it is to try to bring down the highlights in an overexposed image. When you're shooting in manual mode, you want to first select the ISO, so change that to 100, then select an aperture, and then from there, look at the lighting of the setting and change your shutter speed accordingly. Once you have picked the perfect combination of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, you have to ensure that you are critically focused on your subject. Put your Mavic 2 Pro into manual focus mode, and use the focus peaking to determine if your subject is critically focused. Everything that is red will be in focus, and everything that has zebra stripes will have some clipped highlights. Try to minimize the amount of zebras, so you lose as little highlight information as possible. As mentioned, it's easy to pull up shadow detail in post, but it's very difficult to recover those overlit highlights. Try to avoid capturing vertical panos if it's very windy out. The wind will naturally move your drone a little bit, and it makes it extremely difficult to edit these vertical panos in post. First, launch your drone up to a spot in the air that has the best view of the setting. You won't be moving the orientation of the drone at this point, so you want to like the angle of the view. I like to start with the camera facing all the way down until you see the top down of a setting. Then as I pan up, I shoot a bunch of images that overlap each other by 25 to 50% until my camera reaches its limit. Depending on the setting, I take anywhere between 3 to 5 images. I know some people take about 2 to 3, but I like to have all the images of the setting to play around with in Photoshop and Lightroom. If you're shooting in manual mode, you should have correctly exposed for that top-down image. You will notice that as you pan up, the sky will be overexposed, and you will have to compensate for that by stopping down your shutter speed. At this point, you will have about 3 to 5 images of a single setting that can make up a vertical pano. Stay tuned for a future YouTube video where I will show you how to edit this beautiful vertical pano in Photoshop. I'll explain in that video why I prefer Photoshop over Lightroom when it comes to editing vertical panos, and show you some really cool techniques that will really make your work stand out. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, the biggest compliment to me is if you could share it with someone else that would also enjoy it. Of course, subscribe to stay up to date on new videos, and feel free to comment below if you have any drone-related questions or stories to tell. If you're interested, I also do online educational consulting and hands-on workshops where I teach you how to fly over whales and dolphins. More information is on my website and in the links below. See you in the next video.